Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you,
Um,
Judy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to do the podcast with you.
Likewise.
So we were just talking about weather before we started, but why don't you? Usually, I start by kind of just asking people their story. So, what's your background in how you got here today?
Oh, good question. Okay, I'll try to summarize it quickly. I started my career out as a counselor. I got a degree in family studies and human development, and I absolutely loved it. I worked with inner city youth, both in Phoenix and in the DC metro area. And I
Hmm.
just absolutely loved it. But then my life took a turn, and I decided at the age of 30 that on a whim, I just wanted to move to New York City. I wanted just this
Ooh,
excitement that New York brought. And, this is something that I find very common right now. And it's something that I did myself. I started chasing money. And I
hmm,
left a purposeful career where I was really giving back and helping in a deeper way to satisfy my own self, right? And a
right.
lot of it came from fear. I had a lot of debt for financial aid and school, and I wanted to go back and get the master's and continue on in social work, but I was just chasing the money and chasing the money and chasing the money. And over the stretch of the age of 30 to 39, I kept feeling this push pull. I knew my heart was just yearning to give back in a deeper way and to do more. But yet I was filling my life with these jobs that were making me feel empty.
Right.
And I was feeling more and more lost every day. And so I then my life completely fell apart at the age of 39. I hit what I consider my rock bottom.
Okay.
And that happened, it was like, sometimes the universe will rip everything away from you, right? In order
Yeah,
for you to
sometimes.
see, yeah,
Hmm.
in order for you to see a clear path. And so, where it wasn't perfectly clear, it was clear to me that I needed to do this one thing now because I was 39 years old. I still had an opportunity to like dig in and do something that had more meaning and at least
Hmm.
something that I loved, something that meant something for me where I felt like I was giving back. So my life was at rock bottom. I literally lost a job, a relationship that I thought was moving into marriage. I lost my home. I had nothing. So then I
Wow.
decided this is a great time. I've lost everything else. What do I have to lose? And so I
And you
started a
were in New
business.
York?
No, at this point I had moved back to DC.
Okay. Okay.
I had moved back to DC. And again, I was just, scattered, chasing, looking,
Hmm.
confused, not really. Sometimes I was listening to my internal compass, and then I was listening to what everyone thought I should do. Right?
Right.
That
Right.
that's a popular recipe
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So getting back to just the rock bottom place, it was the craziest thing. Throughout my life, I had a talent to design and organize. And even as a
Hmm.
little girl, I would go into people's houses and I would have a slumber party with a friend and suddenly I was decorating and reorganizing their bedrooms. So it was just something I could feel the energy. And so
Right.
I would just change things around. And so at 39, throughout my entire life, people were saying to me, you should do this for a living. And I
Hmm.
never wanted to do it because it was just like I didn't see it as a talent, number one. And then number two, it still wasn't allowing me to get deeper with people and do the deeper work that I felt like I was here to do.
Right.
But I went ahead and did that because I knew it was my ticket into becoming an entrepreneur. I thought, you know what? I'm going to take control of my financial destiny. I'm going to do something that means more to me and utilize my natural gift. And
Hmm.
so I started an organizing, staging, and design business. It did really, really well. Now, I can't tell the story without saying, remember, I started this at rock bottom. So I
Right.
had a lot of emotional clutter, the mental clutter, the spiritual clutter that I now teach in my own life. And I just needed to clear it out in order for me to get to a better place. So the company did really well and I
Mhm.
loved it. But what I ended up discovering was that people needed more of that deep work. And as we were shifting their physical space, it was opening up the channels for their mental clutter, their emotional clutter, and their spiritual clutter to come to the surface. And
Right.
then I was doing deeper work with people. And that is when I decided to make the switch, 15 years in. Well, actually, 2020 helped everybody, right? It helped us all
Yeah.
look at things a little bit more realistically. And at that point, that's when I decided to make the pivot. And I thought, it's now or never. And I started my coaching business very quietly. I didn't make any public
Hmm.
announcements. Energetically, people were just coming to me. And
Right.
so I was able to start working on that. And then I started writing my book. And here we are now. And I'm just thrilled that I was able to follow, what my
Yeah.
soul was really asking me to do.
So it's kind of like a coaching for the people that need to declutter as well. Is that what I'm?
Well, I no longer work in homes. I just do
Okay.
one-on-one mentoring. I'm creating, some group programs and things for the
Yeah.
future, but it's really diving into that spiritual clutter, which
Yeah.
is, that
Ah.
loss of purpose, that sense of what am I here
Yeah.
for? And really a disconnect from spirituality. I have
Right.
found that people are very disconnected and confused,
Right.
spirituality versus religion. And I go into a lot of that with my clients too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And what would your ideal client be?
Well, I think a lot of my clients right now are people that are dealing with that very thing that I just spoke about, right? Like
Mhm.
spirituality, wanting to feel a little bit more connected to their own intuition,
Okay.
not really trusting themselves,
Right.
doing what I used to do, that dance with what I should do versus what my soul's telling me to do. That's a
Right.
big one.
Okay.
And then, of
Cool.
course, there's mental clutter and then the emotional clutter, which is more of the unsettled grief, processing past emotions, and the mental clutter, which is the constant things that are looping through our mind, the rumination. That's a big one with my
Right.
clients.
How do you look at ADHD? Does it come to you often in clients, or what do you see? Because some people don't even acknowledge it as something different. And then some people just focus very differently with their clients who are neurodivergent versus neurotypical.
Well, I certainly have a different set of parameters that I use with someone that is neurodivergent. I was diagnosed with ADHD in 1978. So I
Yes, I
was
remember you
7 years
telling me
old.
that. It's so
Yeah, I
unique.
kind of feel like it's very interesting, and I'm thinking of putting out a post. I'd like to find other, specifically women that were
Hmm.
diagnosed in the 70s because it's very rare. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I love working with my neurodivergent clients. It's incredibly rewarding to me to give them some
Yeah.
of the insight and the tools that I use for myself.
Right. How was that? I'm so curious about it growing up as someone labeled already because I was not labeled and I did not think it was possible until very recently, actually. Within the last 5 years, I've finally acknowledged that I'm ADHD, despite it being everywhere in my life and so obvious when I look back now. So how did you do in school, or how did your family? What I'm noticing a lot is that people with ADHD, there's all these posts in social media about their ADHD because they're reactive, or their ADHD because their rejection sensitivity is so high. But I really see that as um, not their ADHD, it's the symptom of how people treated them because they were ADHD, right? It's like a trauma response, but heightened because of the neurodivergency. So I'm just curious,
Yes.
how were you as you were growing
Yeah,
up with it?
no, thank you for asking. It was really hard for me. It's,
Yeah.
I recently wrote my story and I share really some intimate details of what happened to me as a child. And, I listen, I've been through so much healing that it's no longer a pressure point for me. But back in the 70s, no one knew what this was. Even the
Yeah.
professionals that were teaching me, my teachers didn't really understand it. I display a lot like a male. I have
Mm.
incredible energy levels. So my hyperactivity, my impulsivity, all the things that you typically see in a boy, I
Yeah.
was displaying those. So it was very easy to diagnose me.
Okay.
What ended up happening was really kind of tragic. I had teachers that disciplined me rather harshly, actually. They didn't
Mm,
understand, what was happening. And so I was just constantly fed a negative message about myself. You are disruptive. You are too talkative. You are impulsive. You can't sit still, all the things. I
yeah.
had a teacher tie me to my desk with yarn because she
Oh
wanted to
my
keep me
God.
in. Yeah. She wanted to
Wow.
keep me in my desk because, I
Yeah.
mean, we had to raise our hands to get up and
Yeah.
throw away a piece of trash. I didn't understand that. I just was doing what was natural. So, it was very difficult. And I think because it was
Just,
so
I can't even
unique.
imagine. Could you imagine if someone did that today? Tied a child to it. It'd be all over. Anyway.
Yeah.
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 Sorry,
So
but
I think
yeah.
I think what I ended up doing was I'm like the OG of masking. I was masking from an early age.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing to do with that label. I did not want a thing
Mm,
to do with it because all I heard was the
right.
negative. I didn't hear
Yeah.
about, all the wonderful things like my psychic
Yeah.
gifts, which were very turned on as a child.
Right.
And so I started, kind of quieting everything down.
Right. Trying to be something you weren't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about your psychic gifts.
Oh, so that was interesting. As a child, I saw my grandfather who was deceased. I was probably about 5 or 6 when it happened. He had passed away when I was 4. And that forever branded my heart with the knowing
Mm,
that there's something beyond where we are right now. And I always felt his presence. It scared me a little bit later on because I'm so clairsentient that
yeah.
I was constantly feeling the presence of spirit, and it
Right.
did scare me a little. And
Yeah.
just being clairvoyant, clairsentient, and then telling people. I started to
Mm,
tell people, "Oh, I saw my grandfather, but he's not alive," and they thought that was weird. So then I shut that down too.
right. When did you, or how did you bring it back out again?
I was at my grandmother's house where I had
Hmm.
seen him, and then I was with my aunt, and I just, for some reason, I had this yearning to tell her. I had seen Sylvia Brown on
Oh,
TV,
yes.
and I love her. My
Yeah.
parents later bought me the book one of her books that she wrote. I told my aunt that I had seen him, and she said, "Oh, wow." She said, "I've seen him here too." And
Oh.
I then learned that the women in my family all have very strong intuition and psychic gifts.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is I always ask, what is your process for the day that you couldn't go without? So what's your kind of get into the motivated mood or mode, I guess I should say.
Yeah. I start every day listening to the solfeggio frequency, tapping
Oh,
into my spirituality, talking with my guides. I'm very
yeah.
spiritual. It's, a huge part
Yeah.
of my life. I don't know how I could live without having my first hour of my day for me and my guides.
Oh, me too. It's so important. I
It
get up at like
is.
4:30 just so I can have me time before I'm a mummy. So
Yeah, that's what I recommend to my clients. I asked my
yeah,
mom how she did it, and she said, I just woke up before everyone else.
yeah, some quiet time. With my ADHD though, if I get interrupted, it's a little bit of a deal. But
Me too.
how do you handle skeptics?
I don't worry about skeptics. I think in the
Hmm.
past, that's what made me shut down my gifts and
Yeah,
not, I'm here to express my gifts. And
right,
so if I allow someone else that's confused about them to affect that, then I'm not doing my job here, right?
right, right. And tell me about your book. It's just recently released, right?
Yes, it released on, can show you a copy of it.
Yeah.
I released it on July 3rd. Very excited.
Nice.
It's
Love doesn't
it's
pay the bills.
love doesn't pay the bills. It's very surreal to have a book in the
Yeah.
world, but I'm very, very happy about this. And
Can you tell me about the title?
yeah, it was all divinely guided, and it was quite amazing. When my life was falling apart and I was going through a breakup,
Mm,
the the title came to me through the boyfriend saying that to me. I
Oh.
had lost my job. He broke up with me. It was all about financial stability.
Oh.
And yeah, it was really interesting.
Dodged a
And so
bullet there.
I did dodge a bullet. I said, but I thought we were in love. And he said, love doesn't pay the bills. And I said, thanks. That's a great title for my book. And then I looked around like, who said that? But I didn't. My higher self spoke
Wow.
through. Yeah.
Oh.
And so I held on to that title for years because I could not figure out what it was supposed to be about. I had always wanted to write a book, but I wanted to write something that I knew could help people,
Right.
but I just didn't see what it meant. And then it came to me again at a very weird moment where I was overtaken by this incredible spiritual awareness about what it was supposed to be about. And then I started
Hmm.
writing.
Okay. And what is it about?
So I love to say this. It has multiple themes throughout the book.
Okay.
Scarcity would be one of them.
Hmm.
My scarcity mindset that, again, like I had said to you earlier, I was doing that stop and go, that forging ahead toward what my soul was craving versus doing what society wanted me to do,
Right. Yeah.
fitting into the box that I never fit in.
Yep.
And so a lot of it is that and finding my purpose and reigniting my
Okay.
spiritual gifts. But along the journey, of course, I had denounced my ADHD for so long.
Hmm.
When I was writing the book, I didn't think that it was going to have an ADHD theme, which I think is funny. How am I supposed to write a memoir as a neurodivergent woman without that being a theme?
Right. Right. Oh,
So
that's
I,
funny.
yeah. So I mean, I allowed spirit to channel through me every
Okay.
day. Every day I asked for the messages to come through me as a conduit, not that my ego wanted to share, but something that I wanted to, help people with. And so
Right.
there's a strong ADHD current running through my book.
Okay.
And see some of the battles that I had with that too, sobriety was a big theme for me.
Ah. Okay. And how did you get enter into recovery from sobriety or from substance use?
Yeah, it was the same time that the breakup happened, so that was my rock bottom.
Right.
And something happened a year later that really triggered it. And I just said, I've got to take control of my life. This is not what I'm meant to be doing.
Right.
And
That
there were days
voice.
where, yeah, because there were days where I would take a drink when I didn't want to drink. It was just my body was addicted to it. So I started learning that my body was addicted. And that's when I learned more about the dopamine
Mm,
and ADHD and the link there.
yeah. Right. I do a lot of work with trauma and the connection of what we're thinking and feeling and in our bodies and how it stores in our body and releasing all that. I do a thing called brain spotting. But how do you help clients make those connections and release whatever's stuck?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
So I know that in my own journey, I used a couple of different healing modalities that really helped me.
Hmm.
I agree with you. It's stored in our bodies and our nervous system, specifically in our fascia. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand what our fascia is, that
Yeah.
electro sheath that's running all over our bodies.
Yeah.
I did Rolfing. I did 10 sessions of Rolfing,
Hmm.
and that helped me a great deal. I unlocked just years of anger came out of me.
Mm.
My grief came out of me. Things moved to the surface and came out of me. And so part of what I do with people is we talk about that, the energy body, and how we need to get the emotions and the trauma out.
Right. Yeah.
So a
And
lot of
feel
it
the
is talk
feelings.
therapy.
A lot of it, I always say you have to go through the emotion. You cannot go over, under, or around because it just ends up storing and making a layer.
Yeah, you have to feel it to heal it.
Yeah, exactly. Feel it to heal it.
Well,
There is love in simplicity.
yeah, I think that when I talk about simplicity, I'm talking about eradicating all of the clutter in our lives that
Uh,
keeps us and holds us back from stepping into purpose, from living a life that we're meant to be living here, expressing our gifts, serving one another. That's where we feel true satisfaction.
yeah,
And money really, we need money. There's nothing wrong with wanting money, but you can't get until your frequency is at a place where
right.
you can accept that abundance. And then the love part is all encompassing. So self love was huge for me. I loved myself, Judy. I really did. I thought I saw myself differently than I should have.
You didn't
And
know yourself.
correct. Yeah. I allowed external to define
Mm,
me.
yeah. How has your family of origin and the people around you accepted this version of you?
That's such a good question. I love that question. I ran into an old boyfriend that
Oh,
I dated in my early 20s. I'm 54 now, so that should tell you the time frame. And I had known him a little bit over the years. I would see him, what have you. But he looked at me and he goes, "You're so weird and spiritual now." I thought I've always been spiritual, and he knew that, but maybe not to the extent that he's seeing now on my social media. So one take, mostly people are really embracing the fact that I'm living the life that I feel I should be living. And they're really
right.
supportive. I'm blessed with a nice family
That's good.
that supports me.
What I want to go back to the ex and that. How did you
Yeah.
respond to that?
I said, "Well, I've always been spiritual, and
Yeah,
to you, I've always been weird. I like the weird,
I'm okay with that.
I just said, I've always been this way." He said something about me not drinking anymore, and it was a reflection of him because he's a drinker,
Okay. When people
and
judge,
that's
they're
something.
coming from their own stuff. It's not about you coming from.
Yeah, I just did a video yesterday about that because one of my clients, and she's 28, and this woman is brilliant and she's got so much talent. And it's,
Mm,
we're working on it, but we've had 2 or 3 sessions where she brought up someone else's opinion. And so it's ingrained in her. And so we're working on breaking through that. Why is she still so concerned about her?
yeah. I said something the other day. It's a very common theme to worry about what other people think, especially if you've lived your life as a people pleaser, right?
Hmm.
And I said, and she was very concerned about connecting with the higher self and moving into her purpose because she was worried what other people might think. And I said, that version of you isn't going to give two shits.
I did a lot of the people pleasing thing throughout my, and there's a chapter in my book where I had just started my business, and I don't know, really what it was. That this was probably it's still even like a couple years into my business where I knew it was working. It didn't matter. I was
Mm,
so concerned about what other people were thinking about me and my business that
right.
it was crippling me from
Yeah.
being as successful as I could have been. And so I had to
Right.
really work through a lot of things as a business owner. I think entrepreneurship really teaches you a lot about yourself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And the getting over the imposter syndrome sort of stuff.
That was so thick for me.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's very common in supportive professionals to have that imposter syndrome, and yet we do help people. What would you say is your biggest challenge these days?
This is a good question. I feel like my life really flows.
Yeah.
I just feel like it flows beautifully,
Right.
and I don't get hung up on things where I get so over concerned. I don't do that. I just,
Do you like take a moment of silence, or how do you?
oh, yes. Emotional regulation is something that I have had to work really hard on in my life.
It's ADHD.
Yeah, I know. And had I known that when it happened earlier, a lot about it. And I was a raging teenager. It was a
Yeah.
really hard time with me. I think that was why I was drawn to working with that population, a teenage population, because I wanted so badly to help my younger self too.
It's so funny you say that because I keep thinking if I had only known when I was younger, and it all makes so much sense, I would have been so much more prepared, but maybe I wouldn't have been because, like you said, you had the diagnosis and still masked and still were so frustrated with it. So that kind of makes a lot of sense.
But my meditation practice, my mindfulness practice, that's what saved my life. Breath
Right.
work, meditation,
Yeah.
I meditate every day. So,
Hmm.
I mean, if I didn't do that, I don't know where I'd be.
Right. So many with ADHD or just even neurotypical people are like, oh, I can't meditate. I can't clear my mind like that. It's not about the clearing, it's just about the being connected, really.
Yeah, and I try to explain it to my clients where, we think automatically. This isn't something that, you can't stop your heart from beating. It beats involuntarily. And so do your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to come through. And so what I
Right.
teach them is the reason why we're using our breath and we're coming back to our breath when we think of a thought, it's okay to have the thought. It's all right.
Yeah.
Just coming back to your breath brings you back to that present moment. And then you're training your brain so that in your waking hours, in your beta brainwave state, you can
Mm,
pause, bring yourself back to your breath. And that does help. And if you're having a challenge, that's a good way
yeah.
to do it. It's just to take a pause and take a breath.
Right. Do you have any mentors or individuals that you kind of look up to? You mentioned Sylvia Brown, but are there others?
Oh my goodness, so many out there, right? I mean,
Right.
I've had mentors in my personal life that I know and
Mhm.
love and trust, and I have people that are well known in the world, like the Eckhart Tolles of the world, Deepak Chopras, and there's so many wonderful
Yeah.
teachers out there. Yeah.
I'm going to see Eckert in, he's coming to Montreal up here October. So I'm very excited about that. What is one of the first things you check in with your clients? Like basic, do you have a process with them that you kind of do each?
Here's the thing about my process that may be a little different than traditional therapy is that I'm an intuitive. So I need to feel their energy,
Right.
and I get downloads and I channel messages. I
Oh,
have
okay.
claircognizance and clairaudience. So it's a knowing. And sometimes I'll say something and they'll go, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" Like they're kind of creeped out. But, so my process very much, for the first session, getting to know them, letting them talk freely and picking up on the subtle cues. And
Okay.
somehow something will come through. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like, I don't talk to my clients, my therapeutic clients, about the energy process and everything, but I always feel it and very countertransference. Brain spotting is very somatic at times. Feel something in their body, and I notice that it happens with
Yes.
me as I'm doing it. I had someone on the other day who did like light languages, and I've talked to people on my podcast who like mediumship. So is it like
Yeah.
that?
It's more
Okay.
mediumship. Yeah. It's mediumship. And it's just a clear knowing.
Okay. Okay.
It's one of those things where people say, "Well, how do you know?" I just do.
Right.
You can't explain it.
Instinct and intuition are very, very different. And intuition is like that quiet whisper kind of.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes. So a
Do you
lot of
ever
intuitive.
channel on like your social media?
I've not talked a lot about that. It's hard enough to get the message out about simplicity and how that
Right.
applies, to the process of life. I think that people are having a hard time wrapping their mind around a lot of the concepts, but I will lean into that more as
Yeah.
time moves on. My book ends with nothing but spirituality. So I mean, people.
Is finding your voice and putting that out there one of the challenges that you've had to deal with?
I think probably I think writing the book did release me a little bit from
Right.
anything. It was like, oh, the mask is completely off now.
Ah,
You know,
okay.
so it did feel a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would
Um,
always hide things in my life. I think that people would see a package that looked very well put together. She
right.
practices yoga and she's meditating, she's doing this,
Yeah.
but they didn't know the messy stuff that got me to that
Mm,
place.
right.
My life was really messy, Judy.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was messy. And I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to say it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of personal stories in there that I'm hearing now back from people that are reading it. And what I'm hearing, it's been echoing from every voice, is I don't know that I could share the level of intimacy that you shared publicly.
Mm. There's so much power in vulnerability. It can be intense.
Yeah.
But it's also beautiful because it allows you to, number one, not care if there are skeptics out there and have that empowerment of self. And number two, it gives you that acceptance of those that are like, thank you for sharing your story, because that's
Yeah. Yeah.
connects with me.
Well, and that's another interesting thing too. I would write something and later I would go back and go, why did I share that? Why did I share that? And then I
Mm,
would have a one-on-one and a
yeah.
client would share almost an identical story with me. And I thought, okay, thank you, Spirit. I get it. That's why I
Yeah.
was meant to share it. So hopefully, it just falls in the right
Yeah.
hands.
I've been calling them themes. Every week there seems to be a theme that like literally all of my clients bring to me and it's like, "Oh,
Yes.
that's interesting." Yeah. Some of them laugh because I've let them in. I've been like, "Oh, this is the theme of the week, by the way, just so you know."
It's true. I do see common threads also. Yeah.
Yeah. Coaching is just becoming a thing kind of up here in Canada. It's always been social work therapy, psychotherapy. And I notice there's a lot of, how do I say this? A lot of stigma around becoming a coach if you're the educated therapist. Is it the same in the States still, or has it
That's
kind
a
of,
good question. I think we're a little bit more liberal minded that way, I think.
yeah, I think
I
so.
was really apprehensive. We all have to have these identifiers in life, right? Like, what do you do for a living?
Mm,
And then it's okay, am I a coach? Am I a guide? Am I a
right.
this? Am I a that? And yeah, I think it has been accepted. Coaching's been really well received here, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's becoming more up here, but yeah,
Yeah.
as
And
it's
sometimes people need a deeper layer of therapy that I
yeah,
can't offer,
yeah,
and I have therapists that I work with that I can then send them off to. Okay, this person has some real deep trauma, and I'm not
right.
as qualified as, this person or that person. So I
Yeah,
have a nice network where I can
that's
work with
good.
people. Yeah.
Because I've noticed there's a little bit of a lot of coaches that don't have the therapeutic background are, I'm a trauma coach. But it's like,
No, you can't do
that's a
that.
little
Yeah.
dangerous sometimes.
I think too, I think we're in a place where people do want to help, but we have to
Yeah,
remember that, it's not about your ego. It's not
right,
about what you want to do.
right,
It's about,
right.
really tapping into your own natural gift. And if you're a coach or
Yeah,
if you want to be a therapist, but, having the
yeah,
credentials to help somebody with deep trauma is really important.
right. And it's not about the money, it's about what you want in the outcome, right? Which is to
Yeah.
help people, and then the money comes, just naturally flows. Is there anything that I have not asked that you would like to put out there?
I just want to stress the importance of the fact that we are spiritual beings here having
Right.
this human experience, which is beautiful. And people have, I have that beautiful ADHD quality of
Hmm.
being very optimistic and positive. And I don't want to shut that down anymore. I'm going to keep it up because our vibrational frequency, right now specifically, is the most important thing that we can all focus on. Raising your vibration, staying in a good place, but also the only way to do that is actually to face the harder things in life,
Hmm.
feeling the pain of the grief, feeling the pain of the job loss, the breakup, whatever it is, moving through that with someone like you or me or whomever you're comfortable with, right? And getting to a place where you can maintain a vibration that is going to attract the abundance that you want into your life.
Yeah. I would say something really beautiful just came to you that you had to put out there. That was good. Okay, where can people find you?
So people can find me on Instagram. I just started a TikTok channel, which is kind of interesting. And of course, my website, which is simplifywithdi.net.
Okay.
Love Doesn't Pay the Bills is available on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.